Eloy Jimenez is out here throwing a bit of shade at the White Sox. Let's discuss his comments and why you and I should still be relieved that he is no longer on the team.
You are Locked On White Sox, your daily Chicago White Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, I'm your host, Todd Welter, a lifelong Sox fan and the site expert of Southside Showdown, part of the FanSided Network. You can check out my written content at SouthsideShowdown.com and also have covered Major League Baseball for outlets such as the Associated Press. And thanks for making Locked On White Sox your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Make sure to hit that like button on today's episode and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Locked On White Sox if you've not done so already. And if you can't catch the show on YouTube, follow or subscribe to the show on wherever you get your podcasts, as Locked On White Sox is available via audio on places such as Apple and Spotify. Eloy Jimenez did not play in the Baltimore Orioles' 13-3 thrashing of the White Sox yesterday, but he did not exactly have the nicest things to say about facing his former team that I want to discuss in the first segment. And then let's discuss a pending free agent that the Orioles have that would be a nice addition for the White Sox in 2025 and beyond. And finally, is Miguel Vargas starting to accept that he's on the White Sox and that it's time to play better baseball? I'll discuss why you and I need to hope that is the case. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, I'm going to die on this hill, and I'm going to probably take some sling and arrows from the people that still loved Eloy Jimenez. But I believe Eloy Jimenez is the most disappointing player in team history. Okay, team history might be a little bit of an exaggeration or embellishment. So let's just say this century. Gordon Beckham, yeah, his long swing kept him from being a superstar, but he at least had a decent career. Dion Viciedo and Avisel Garcia, well, they never reached their potential, although Garcia did make an all-star team, but none arrived on the scene like Eloy did when he hit 31 home runs in his rookie season in 2019. But superstar talent and unable to stay on the field, except for in 2019, as that was the most games he played, and it was only 122, is the reason why I always will say Eloy is probably the most disappointing player that the White Sox have had in the past 24 years. Otherwise, think about it. He was on the IL 20 separate times. 20. He was never available. And then he also had this penchant for hitting ground balls. And that is why he's always going to be my most disappointing player over the past 24 years. For a while, he was becoming a sympathetic figure, as the injuries toward the end of his tenure was mostly just his body not allowing him to play. Well, after his quotes from yesterday, he's getting no sympathy, at least from me, and he shouldn't get any from you. Okay, so here's what Eloy said, and this is from Chicago White Sox Sun-Times beat reporter Daryl Van Schouwen. Quote, "It's really hard because you don't want to lose and you don't play to lose. It was hard. Even when we were winning, it felt like we were losing. But I know they're going to figure it out and do a better job next year. I'm not going to lie. Playing meaningful games in September is going to be fun. I have a lot of memories." Jimenez said for his time with the White Sox, who acquired him in a 2017 trade with the Cubs, for whom Hyde served as a director of player development when Jimenez was signed in 2013. Good, bad, okay. I was surprised because by that day, I didn't think I was going to get traded, but Getz's plan was to try to get me here, and I'm here. We want to win, and being part of a winning club makes you adjust to certain things and try to do your best, end quote. All right, I might be reading too much into this because Eloy's injuries and inability to put the ball in the air consistently is on the Dead Sea Scroll size list of why this franchise has just absolutely rotted. He's not the main reason, but he's on that Dead Sea Scroll size list of why did this franchise just rot and decay and crumble into what it is? Because he was supposed to be part of a core that was going to win multiple World Series. Instead, he made multiple IL stints. And along with Luis Robert Jr. and Yohan Moncada, as those three were supposed to put together a core of winning lots and lots of championships, they spent lots and lots of time on the IL together. And I think I'm irked when he said winning makes you want to try to do your best. First, does he realize he was part of 2 playoff teams on the White Sox? Maybe he forgets since he barely played in 2021. And I know 2023, if this season makes it feels like all the White Sox have done was lose during his time on the South Side, but he was part of 2 winning clubs, and he was part of a club that, yes, disappointed, but still won 81 games. So if being part of winning makes you want to do your best, you were part of a winning club. You were part of a winning franchise. In fact, 3 of your first 4 seasons, the White Sox won. But, hey, be professional. And I don't know, step up and help the clubhouse then overcome being a bunch of losers. Maybe you could have done that, Eloy. Instead, you were in the tub. Instead, you were always on the IL. And that quote just shows how much of a part of the problem he was. He was part of the problem because he wasn't available. And then when he was available, he was never putting the ball in the air and living up to what a slugger should be. And then when The Athletic, for example, writes a fluff piece to prop him up, I just want to scream at the outsiders that really do not get how much he was part of the rot. And I also want to scream at the people that are like, see, there's another player thriving when they leave the White Sox. This is the one where I give the White Sox the benefit of the doubt because they gave him plenty of runway. They were patient with the guy. They gave him a $49 million contract. And he was always hurt. And some of it was his fault. Like trying to catch a ball in spring training and basically destroying his shoulder. This is what Sam Blum, wrote for The Athletic. Again, The Athletic, who don't cover the White Sox anymore, except for when obviously the White Sox are bad. This is what he wrote that really portrays Eloy as a victim here. This is what he writes. Jimenez was a key piece of what could have been White Sox. Their stacked 2021 roster mirrored the present-day Orioles, a club full of young, under-team control talent that it looked like would dominate its division annually. He finished 4th in Rookie of the Year voting in 2019 when he posted an .828 OPS, then won a Silver Slugger in the shortened 2020 season. Then everything started to fall apart. Jimenez tore his pectoral muscle in the spring of 2021 when he made that stupid attempt to field a ball in spring training. He tore his right hamstring the year after. Then an appendicitis in 2023. Commentary, yeah, that's something he could have prevented there. This year, he had an adductor strain in March, and a left hamstring injury in May. While Sox fans became deeply frustrated at his lack of availability, they didn't like what were perceived to be elongated recovery times. Perceived to be? Okay, Blum. His slow runs to first base made for bad optics, even if they were necessary to preserve his health. Then he shouldn't have been playing. Side commentary. Back to the article. And it all came against the backdrop of a ball club in decline. Quote, "This is a joyous day," NBC White Sox analyst Ryan McGuffys said on the team-owned network's trade deadline special. "That guy is catastrophic of a failure as any player that came through the rebuild. I can't believe the team would take him on." End quote. That comment was cruel. But as the White Sox flirt with the worst season in MLB history, it spoke to the fracture between Jimenez and the city he longed called home. Quote, "At the end of the day, I know what I'm doing," Jimenez said. "I know I work my bleep off every single day. I know I try to improve my body every single day. I don't feel good when I'm injured. Everyone knows that. But at the end of the day, people are going to talk anyway. I just try not to pay attention to that." End quote. Give me a break. Please. There was a lot of people rooting for Eloy to succeed. And he kept disappointing and disappointing and disappointing because he was always hurt and perceived. Okay, if he can't run to first base, then he shouldn't have been playing. And there was reported speculation to the outsiders that Eloy may not have taken care of himself very well, and that caused a lot of injuries. And okay, McGuffey, he went hard on Eloy. But you got to understand, he was such a foundational piece that his missed time did cripple the White Sox, did contribute to the losing. That's the thing. Eloy doesn't understand he was a cause to the effect. And not even being a capable foundational player, which I'm going to get to in a second. And secondly, I'll spot you, Blum, what you should have said, and that is Eloy was over-evaluated by the Sox. That's what I'll spot you. He was always over-evaluated by the Sox. The Sox looked at him as a foundational player when he was just a contributing piece. And with the Orioles, that's why he's hitting 284 with a 712 OPS, but only one home run. Because he can be a contributing piece. That's what people are missing about Eloy. He stopped hitting home runs. He played in 120 games last year, and he hit 18 home runs. He's a giant of a man, and he hits like Nicky Lopez. That's why fans were frustrated with him. Think about that. A 27.9 fly ball percentage this year. And his career ground ball percentage is 51.5. If you're a slugger, like even in the most purest form, like Rowdy Tellez with the Pirates, he has a 39.3 ground ball percentage. That's what sluggers do. They put the ball in the air, and he didn't. He was always hurt, and he didn't hit home runs when he was supposed to. So you can see why White Sox fans and commentators could have viewed him as being traded as a great day, because he was constantly part of the rotting of this franchise. Part, again, key word, part, before you come at me. You know, it's circling back to being over-evaluated. He was asked to be a foundational piece. And the Orioles realized, hey, this guy can be a contributing piece. And that's why they can tolerate his ground balls. Because they can bat him lower in the order, and they have enough talented hitters that all they need is a base runner. And if Eloy's getting on base by hitting singles, that's fine for them. But for the White Sox, it was so crippling to their lineup because they needed him to hit home runs. That is how he was evaluated. That's what he showed in 2019. And he was supposed to be more than that after 2019. He was supposed to be a superstar, and he never had that. So I'm sorry, Sam Blum, and I'm sorry, Eloy, that yes, folks were disappointed. But take some responsibility. And stop saying that, well, now I'm on a winning team. Look at this. Everything's la, 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 la. When you could have helped the White Sox be a winning team by staying healthy as much as you could. Some of the, an appendicitis, hey, you get grace there. Tearing your pectoral muscle by trying to field a ball in spring training, that's on you, buddy. Well, at least Eloy is confident the Sox can turn things around next season. And one way they can at least maybe lose only 90 games is money in free agency and try to bring in some better players by doing that. I'll discuss one pending free agent the Sox should sign in the offseason next on Locked On White Sox. All right, look, the Sox might be downright awful, but now might be the best time to go since the Sox have the Cleveland Guardians and the San Diego Padres coming into town this month. Two teams in the playoff race, and there's a chance to see Dylan Cease make his return to the guaranteed rate mound. And if that happens, if he's scheduled to start at Guaranteed Rate Field, you want to go? Use the Game Time app. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Maybe you don't want to go to a Sox game, even though the bathroom and concession lines will be light. Game Time has exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. The lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. And thank you for making Locked On White Sox your first listen today. For your second listen, enjoy the Locked On MLB podcast. Host Paul Sullivan, a.k.a. Sully. He is here daily to provide national expertise with his trademark humor to help you get ready for the MLB playoffs here in the dog days of summer. Prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully, who has it covered every single day on Locked On MLB. Available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And the White Sox continue a 3-game road series with the Baltimore Orioles tonight. First pitch is at 5:35 p.m. Central Standard Time. Catch every pitch of the White Sox hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search White Sox. And welcome back into Locked On White Sox. I am your host, Todd Welter. Make sure to hit that like button on today's episode and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Locked On White Sox if you've not done so already. And if you can't catch the show on YouTube, follow or subscribe to the show on wherever you get your podcast, as Locked On White Sox is available via audio on places such as Apple and Spotify. If you got to drive to work today, mow your lawn, cut your grass, hey, hopefully I'm a good person to bring along with you. All right, so the Sox should have some money to play within free agency, as the club has just $32.1 million tied up in guaranteed deals next season. And even with arbitration, it's not like the Sox payroll is going to exceed $100 million after that. And if the Sox trade Luis Robert Jr. in the offseason, then they only have Andrew Benintendi's contract on the books, because they should not exercise Yohan Moncada's option, and definitely shouldn't exercise Max Stassi. He is still technically a part of the team, even though he's been on the 60-day IL since spring training. Those are actually the only 4 technically contracts that they have on the books right now. So they could enter the offseason with just one guaranteed deal and Andrew Benintendi $17.1 million. And if the Chicago Sports Network can yield a good TV contract, the Sox might have some revenue to go out and spend some money that even Jerry Reinsdorf might say, yeah, let's go and do it. Although, again, I'm not holding my breath that they're going to be spending tons and tons of cash. I would expect them to probably sign Jesse Winker, as I'm also not very confident that the Sox are going to get a great deal with their new television station. But the Orioles have a pending free agent that I would love to see the Sox sign, as he would fix the forever hole in right field. And, he would definitely provide desperately needed power. And that's Anthony Santander. The Sox desperately need power in this lineup. And he has 39 home runs this season and 100 over the past 3. He also is in the lineup almost every day. And that's a big thing, too. The Sox need players that can be available. And he has played in 438 games in the past 3 seasons. Right now, he has a 240, 310, 519 slash line with a 132 WRC plus and a 3.1 F4. He has 49 barrels this season, and his career hard hit percentage is over 40%. That's what the Sox need in this lineup. And also, he puts the ball in the air with a career 48.9 fly ball percentage. You need guys that can hit with power, guys that put the ball in the air, and, guys that can actually have slugging percentage. But the 2 things that work against him is he's not the strongest fielder, and he's going to be 30 next season. He is ranked, though, as the 11th best free agent, according to CBS Sports. What he'll get in the free agent market varies. Spotrac projects that he'll get a 5-year deal, nearly $90 million. That would be the richest free agent contract in franchise history. And something tells me he could get more, especially when Kelly Miller of Bleacher Report thinks Santander could get over $162 million that Brandon Nimmo got 2 years ago. But why should the Sox, try to sign a free agent who's going to be 30, and when you still have Dominic Fletcher in the wings? Well, first, this team they need home runs, and I love Dominic Fletcher's glove. I love what he does in the outfield defensively, and he has been hitting well in August and September, but he doesn't hit home runs. He hasn't shown that he can drive the ball. He's shown that he can be a very good fielder, and he might just be nothing more than a 4th outfielder. So that's why I would like to upgrade, and especially since right field has just been such a hole in this lineup. They're trying to replace Jermaine Dye, for crying out loud, and he retired in 2009. Second, you need a veteran from a winning club to come in and help establish a winning culture. I give Chris Getz, one of the few things that I give GM Chris Getz credit for was he did realize, look, I got to improve this toxic culture in the clubhouse. The problem was he didn't bring in winning guys. He didn't bring in, he brought in a bunch of former Kansas City Royals and Paul DeYoung. Bring in guys that have actually won things. And also bring in guys like Anthony Santander, who was through a terrible, through a team that was terrible during a rebuild. He was there in the beginning when the Orioles were really, really bad. And then he's been there as they've been winning a lot of games. And yes, he can be a slow starter, but he does heat up and he understands the game. It is something Baltimore Orioles co-hitting coach Ryan Fuller pointed out. Here's what he said, quote, "He watches the pitcher's last 3 starts before every single game. He is looking for the 1 or 2 pitches that he will only get. So instead of looking at, man, he throws fastball 50%, he's looking at that changeup in a 2-1 count that he throws 5%, and he'll be sitting on that pitch. Just really, really smart hitter," end quote. And the Sox need a hitter with a good approach at the plate. I don't know what his verbal leadership is like. I scoured the internet, couldn't find anything on that. But if they could bring in another veteran who can at least show this is how you prepare, this is how you perform, then they need to make that move. And finally, ownership has to show to a disgusted fan base that they are willing to spend money. Jerry Reinsdorf has to give us that. And signing Santander, even if he's 30, would do that. Although, they're saying, if it is an 8-year, $162 million deal, not a big fan of that. I'm never a fan of giving more than 5 years to a player who's 30 or over. But if it is a 5-year deal, and say the Sox are getting better by 2027, that is when he will be 33, and you should at least be able to get one more or two more productive seasons. I've seen what adding even a free agent in his third, like when he's right at 30, that comes from a winning culture, can do for a team. It's what Lorenzo Cain did for the Milwaukee Brewers. I mean, people don't realize, one of the ways that the Milwaukee Brewers became a consistent winner is they traded for Christian Yelich and signed Lorenzo Cain to a 5-year, $90 million deal in the 2018 before the 2018 season. Guess what they did? They won the NL Central, and they went to the NL pennant. Went to the NLCS. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen next year, because that's a long, long, long shot for the Sox. But adding a veteran like Santander can go a long way into helping this rebuild move in the positive direction that it should be. Because that's the one thing that the Sox never did in the previous rebuild. They didn't really go out and sign that really good performing free agent that could put them over the top, or that could come in and say, okay, this is how things are done. You're doing things this way. This is actually how things are done by winning teams. They never did that. They brought in Lance Lynn, but he pitched every 5 days. Wasn't enough. Well, Miguel Vargas has a 3-game hitting streak. Is this like Neo in the Matrix, and is he starting to believe that he can be a good player? Let's discuss next on Locked On White Sox. Hey, you've heard me talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Well, FanDuel has something a little different for you. Now, through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. And maybe you're done playing the White Sox, and you want to move over to the Chicago Bears. FanDuel has some great lines for futures. The Bears are plus 3,500 to win the Super Bowl, plus 340 to win the NFC North, and some really good numbers on the exact order of the division. The safe play to make is plus 600 with the Lions in first, Packers in second, Bears in third, Vikings in fourth, as that seems to be the projected, this is how things are going to go. But say you think the Bears defense will meet the high expectations, and Caleb Williams is the real deal, while the Lions will fall off, plus 1,300 for the Bears to finish in first, Pack in second, Lions in third, Vikings in fourth. Parlays, props, and futures are what I always think FanDuel is great for. Just visit FanDuel.com, download America's #1 sports book. And the White Sox continue a 3-game road series with the Baltimore Orioles tonight. The first pitch is at 5:35 p.m. Central Standard Time. Catch every pitch of the White Sox hometown broadcast with the SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search White Sox. And welcome back into Locked On White Sox. I am your host, Todd Welter. Shout out to all my everydayers. Thank you for sticking with me this far. Again, hopefully every time you listen to me, I'm here getting you through this just terrible, miserable, rotted season. I'm challenging you to think, hey, maybe this. And if you want to challenge me back, feel free to leave comments. But again, let's have a discussion, not a troll session. I had a guy try to tell me that, hey, 62 Mets only played 160 games. They were 40-120. First of all, they were 40-120-1, and there was a 162-game season. Okay? For some reason, they tied a game, and I've never been able to find the answer. And they did not play game 162. Okay? Like trying to point out and point holes, that doesn't work. But having a discussion, that does work. So we can always have that. You can always email me at lockedonwhitesox@gmail.com. Miguel Vargas, again, he was the crown jewel of GM Chris Getz's first major trade deadline deal, and so far it's been bust. He is still struggling to hit heat. He's just still struggling to hit in general. And cameras keep catching him looking like he has been exiled to Siberia. I mean, really, the guy looks like he has just been like, where am I? What did I do to deserve this? And yes, it's a shock to go from Los Angeles, especially the Dodgers, to the Chicago White Sox. But at some point, you got to accept your fate, buddy. You got to accept it. Okay? You play for the Chicago White Sox now. And maybe it would be nice if he started to walk in and say, look, I played for a winning ball club. This is how things should be done, and start showing the way. But hey, that's not many White Sox players' style there. So at the very least, you and I have to hope he is like Neo in the Matrix and starting to believe he can be a good ball player, as he has all the tools, except hitting heat. But there's a sign that maybe he is. Maybe I'm like Morpheus. He is starting to believe. Because he's reached base safely in 3 games. It's a very small sample size, but this is how bad things have gotten for the Sox, that even the smallest crack of light has to be greeted with some hope. And the thing I would love to see Vargas do is almost be like what is described by Santander and really put in the prep work to understand how he's getting pitched and find a way to sit on that off-speed pitch that he can crush. You know, the only positive I've actually found so far is he's really good at fouling off pitches. So keep fouling off those fastballs and keep battling to get your off-speed stuff that you can hit. You know, he has to find a way, too, to accept you're on the White Sox, buddy. Okay, you're not on the Dodgers anymore. Yes, things are terrible. Things are awful. You basically play for a rotting carcass of a franchise. But if you want to have a long-term career, or actually if you want to have a big league career, start performing. And then if you want to stay, really put that work in to make sure you're getting the pitches and to be able, and also put that work in to start catching up to that fastball. You know, figure out a way to square up on that heat. You know, he does those three things, then maybe he has a shot at being a decent baseball player, maybe even a good baseball player. Whoa, I know. I'm asking for a lot here. And maybe he is doing that prep work, but with the White Sox, you can never give anybody the benefit of the doubt there. And just like doubt, it's doubtful he will reach his potential, but hey, any glimmer of hope, you got to cling on to this season. Well, that wraps up this edition of Locked On White Sox. Thank you for making Locked On White Sox your first listen today. Now, go check out the Locked On MLB podcast. Prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully, who has it all covered every single day. You can find the link to the Locked On MLB podcast in the description, so you don't need to search. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And, you know, I realized I never took a deep dive into Pedro Grifol's firing and how you and I should just be relieved. So I got Ozzie Guillen Jr. to come back on the show to share his thoughts and get another voice on who should be the next manager. So he'll be on tomorrow's show. Feel free to leave comments about today's topics regarding Eloy Jimenez's recent comments about his time with the White Sox and being the all-time most disappointing player this century, at least. The Sox hopefully pursuing Anthony Santander in free agency, and Miguel Vargas hopefully figuring things out. You can leave them at the episode page on YouTube, X/formerly Twitter at Todd J. Dub, or at Locked On White Sox, or at Locked On Sox, or you can email me at LockedOnWhiteSox@gmail.com. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.